Ohio, like the rest of the country, has suffered from a drug epidemic, and it's taken too many of the lives of our children and our youth and our communities. And this operation, Operation Box Cutter, would not have been possible without the interagency efforts of both the DEA, the United States Attorney's Office, and of course our FBI field office here in Cincinnati, and our state and local partners.
The FBI calling it an international drug and money laundering conspiracy. I'm Eli Burgett out here at the FBI Cincinnati field office, where earlier today, federal officials announced the indictment of several chemical companies in China and their co-conspirators here in the U.S., including 2 people from Tip City.
It is the first of its kind in terms of how we actually get after the threat that is Chinese precursors, which are used to make fentanyl, which is used to kill tens of thousands of Americans a year. We're done playing whack-a-mole. The brilliant case team here and the prosecutors here and the local and state authorities here created a program whereby if you want to end the pandemic of fentanyl and cocaine and meth, you have to go after where it's made, how it's made, and what goes into making it. And the brilliant team here, our case team, was able to figure out the companies in mainland China that produce the fentanyl, the locals here in Ohio and across America, along with the banking institutions and the flow of money, and to shutter them with this indictment in one fell swoop. It is years of work targeting a enterprise that the American public just doesn't have too much understanding of. And the purpose of this indictment and unsealing it and bringing it forward to you is to show you the large-scale effort it will take, and that this operation is leading the charge, and the FBI is leading this mission across the country. It is not just happening here in Ohio. It's happening in dozens of districts around the country and all across the world. And I'll let the folks behind me get into the details of it, but I just want to leave you with a couple of statistics. We didn't just arrest a couple of people. We charged an enterprise-wide system in mainland China to include dozens of individuals and banks and companies that are responsible for making these lethal precursors and shipping them here. And you should ask yourself this: what other country in the world has a fentanyl crisis? None. Just us. That's not by accident. And then you should ask yourself, what about the volume and quantity of what was apprehended in just this operation alone? It was something like 139 kilograms of fentanyl powder. That's enough lethal doses for 70 million Americans. To put that in perspective, the state of Ohio has a population of 12 million people approximately. That's 5x Ohio.
In a news conference on Wednesday, FBI Director Kash Patel announced Operation Box Cutter, an international crackdown on fentanyl trafficking. Patel says the Guangzhou Tengyu Chemical Company, along with other China-based organizations, employees, and U.S. co-conspirators, including 2 here from in the Miami Valley, have been indicted for illegally exporting substances to U.S. drug traffickers. Special Agent in Charge Elena Ayatrola says these drug traffickers have been using these substances as mixing agents to increase the yield and potency of fentanyl distributed here in the U.S. She says the China-based companies have been posing as legitimate pharmaceutical companies to sell these mixing agents to U.S. traffickers online.
They were being shipped through legitimate shipping services, coming in through the U.S. Postal Service as well as other entities, because the shipping services didn't realize that they were illicit substances and what they were being utilized for.
U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Ohio, Dominic Gerais, says that 3 U.S. citizens, Eric Michael Payne and Ariane Rayford of Tip City, and Ciandria Davis have been indicted for conspiring to distribute fentanyl and international money laundering.
Our 5-count indictment charges 3 individuals in the United States, including 2 from Tip City, Ohio, 22 Chinese nationals, and 4 Chinese companies with whom those Chinese nationals are affiliated. And I want to remind everybody that an indictment is a charging document that contains allegations. The defendants charged in this indictment are deemed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
But he says that red notices will be placed on all 22 if they ever leave China, so the U.S. will be notified. Gerais adds that all defendants could see anywhere from 10 years to life behind bars if convicted.
So it's my hope that these penalties send a message to drug traffickers here in the Southern District of Ohio, and also to those who are willing to assist them from abroad.
Scan the QR code on your screen to go to our homepage, Dayton247now.com, to view all the latest information on the case and the indictment. We will continue to bring you the latest updates both on air and online.
working with the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General. The mission in Washington is the same for the rest of the country. We will prosecute and recommend charges and investigate anyone who wishes to harm our way of life. And that is exactly what this is. This is a national security crisis when tens of thousands of children and young Americans are being killed by illicit narcotics, but those illicit narcotics have to be made somewhere. And that's what we're trying to educate the American public on, that this is an international enterprise from multiple countries. And where any one of those individuals acts, the FBI will lead out the mission to investigate them. And if we can bring enough evidence and recommend charges, we will absolutely do that, not just here in Southern Ohio, but in the rest of the country.
New information about how the FBI says this whole operation worked. This unsealed indictment that you see right here shows Chinese companies claiming to be operating online pharmaceutical and chemical companies used more than a dozen people to fish for customers, negotiate sales, and secure payments for cutting agents. Those are the controlled substances, compounds, and chemicals used to increase the yield of fentanyl and increase the potency of it. The indictment shows the people used by these companies would advertise these cutting agents for sale in Southern Ohio through the internet and social media. Some of these ads would even include a phone number or email to contact the sellers. Court documents show around April of last year, Eric Michael Payne, who was arrested in the Carriage Trails neighborhood of Huber Heights, contacted one of those numbers to buy the products and coordinate payment. It also shows Payne worked with another seller to buy tools for the fentanyl cutting process. The indictment shows Payne sent $70,000 in cryptocurrency for the cutting agents that he would then mix with fentanyl and then sell it to other drug dealers. Back in China, these companies are accused of laundering all payments through a series of crypto wallets and bank accounts until they could be converted and used into foreign currency. We have the full story up on our website. Scan the QR code on your screen. That'll take you directly to our homepage where you can read all of the details in the full indictment.
I'm Eli Bergadat here at Wright State University. We're just days after federal agents announced details on an international drug conspiracy. The DEA is sharing their perspective. They share with me specifics on how cutting agents are impacting our area.
These drugs don't know a zip code. They don't know any type of barriers. They're demographic proof, whether it's a young college student, whether it's an older adult in the workforce, whether it's a young person. These drugs absolutely don't know any demographic.
DEA Public Information Officer Brian McNeil describing how easily drugs like fentanyl can cross borders overseas and come into our communities. On Wednesday, federal officials announced indictments involving an international drug and money laundering conspiracy. FBI Director Kash Patel says this conspiracy involves China-based companies pretending to be legitimate pharmaceutical organizations, distributing cutting agents like xylazine and medetomidine to American traffickers. McNeil tells me those traffickers are then using the cutting agents to increase the potency and yield of fentanyl, which they then distribute on our streets.
And what these drugs do, they stretch the supply of fentanyl. So a would-be trafficker can make more money based off of how much, destruction he or she is providing in the community.
In 2023, fentanyl accounted for 78% of unintentional overdoses in Ohio, and McNeil says that most users of the drug consume it unknowingly. He says drug traffickers commonly distribute fentanyl by lacing it in other substances like Percocet and Adderall. With the arrest of 3 U.S. co-conspirators in the case, 2 of which from Tip City, Patel says the FBI hopes to send a message to all other drug traffickers on U.S. soil.
This stuff is lethal. For too long, there has not been attacked, and that's why the priority at the FBI is national security and violent crime. And this case demonstrates the intersection of those two top mission sets that the FBI has.
As always, we will follow this story and bring you the latest updates both on air and online. Scan the QR code on your screen to view our latest coverage on our homepage at Dayton247now.com. McNeil also told me about the DEA's upcoming Campus Drug Prevention Awareness Campaign, in which representatives will travel to college campuses across Michigan and Ohio to help prevent drug abuse and misuse in students. McNeil says that drugs are more accessible than ever with online purchasing options, and helping young adults understand potential risks associated with buying can help save their lives. To find more information and resources from the DEA, or to schedule a presentation for your college campus, visit our homepage at Dayton247now.com.